Hello class, this is lesson 8-5 about the slope-intercept form. And that's what's written here. It says y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So if you have an equation written in this particular order, it's called slope-intercept form. And we're going to use these equations later on to help us graph a straight line. But for now, we're just going to use the slope and the y-intercept to help us write a linear equation. So first, let's just start by identifying the slope and the y-intercept in these equations. So y equals x minus 4. There's an invisible 1 there in front of the x, so the slope is 1. And easily you can see that the y-intercept is negative 4. So that's a very straightforward example. These next ones are not written in slope-intercept form, so we need to rewrite them first. So let's subtract 3x on both sides of our equation. We're left with 5y is equal to negative 3x plus 10. Now I can divide everything by 5 to get the y by itself. And now it says y is equal to negative 3/5 x plus 2. So I can easily see now the slope is negative 3/5 and the y-intercept is positive 2. Okay, let's go ahead and do this one more time. We're going to move that 8x to the opposite side. So we're going to subtract 8x on both sides. And we are left with negative 3y is equal to negative 8x plus 2. I'm going to divide everything by that negative 3. And then I'm left with y is equal to positive 8/3 x minus 2/3. And now I can see the slope is 8/3 and the y-intercept is negative 2/3. Okay, so identifying the slope and the y-intercept is fairly straightforward, but what we're going to look at now is actual graphs of lines and see if we can write the equation based on the line. And again, you only need two things to write an equation. You need the slope, which is your m, and you also need the y-intercept, which is your b. If you have those two components, you can easily write the equation of the line. So let's talk about different ways where you can find the slope of a line. If you have a picture, you could just look at the line and you can count how far up am I going or down am I going, and then how far sideways am I going. That's called the rise over the run. Another way that you could find the slope is if you have 2 points, you can use the slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So there's 2 different ways that you could determine the slope. To find the y-intercept, you can also just look at the picture. Where do you see the line crossing the y-axis? It's that simple, okay? But you may not always have a diagram, and so if you don't, you can look at the points that you're given, and the point that has a 0 for the x value and the number for the y value is the y-intercept. So let's go ahead and write the equation of each of these lines. Since I have pictures of each line, it should be very straightforward. For the first one, I'm going to go down 1, so that's negative 1. And I'm going to go to the right 4, so the slope is negative 1 over 4. It's that easy. And then looking, the y-intercept, it looks like it's crossing at positive 3. So my b is positive 3. And when I put those together, I have y is equal to negative 1/4 x plus 3. And that's all you have to do, okay? Let's do this for this red line. I'm going to count up and to the right. So I'm going to go all the way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as well. Okay. So the slope here is 5 over 5, which can be simplified to 1. The y-intercept, I can look, and it is crossing at negative 1. So my b is equal to negative 1. And when I put those together, I'm not going to write the 1 because it's always invisible. So I'm just going to put the x, but then I am going to put minus 1. So that is the equation for the red line. All right, one more here. I'm going to count by going down and then to the right. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 down. So that's negative 10. And then to the right, 2. So my slope is going to be negative 10 over 2, which can be simplified to negative 5. And then looking at the diagram, it looks like it is crossing the y-axis at negative 5 as well. So my b is negative 5. So then I put this together and I find that y is equal to negative 5x minus 5. And I'm done. All right. So now let's move on to a word problem where we're going to write an equation. It says that NJHS is selling t-shirts for Spirit Week. The initial design costs $20. Okay, so that is a one-time fee. And each printed shirt costs $5. And we're going to use Y and X, where Y represents the total cost and X is the number of shirts. So if I was going to write this out, the cost would be equal to the cost of the shirts plus the cost of the design. So that means that Y is equal to 5 times the number of shirts, so 5x, plus that $20 fee. And we're done. The final method that I'm going to teach you for writing an equation is from a table. Now a table here, if I have a column of x values and a column of y values, that's really giving us a set of points. So this represents 0, 10, and 2, 22, and so on. But as I learned before, I only need 2 points to find the slope. So I'm going to subtract my y values, 22 minus 10, and then I'll subtract my x values, 2 minus 0. And that simplifies to 12 over 2, which equals 6. So my slope is 6. Now to find my y-intercept, again, if you have a coordinate where the x value is 0, then the y value is automatically the y-intercept. So in this case, b equals 10. Now that I have those two components, I can put them together to write my equation. Y equals 6x plus 10. And that's it. In our final example, we have 2 columns. The x values are the hours and the y values are the pages left of a book that you are reading. So again, I can take any points. So maybe I'll use the first line, which gives me 0, 360. And the second line, which is 6, 120. And I'll use those 2 points to find my slope. So subtracting the y values, I have 120 minus 360 over 6 minus 0. That leaves me with negative 240 over 6, which simplifies to negative 40. So that is my slope. And again, I'm fortunate that one of my points is giving me the y-intercept. So 360 is the b, and now I can put all of this information together, and I find that y is equal to negative 40x plus 360. And we're done. So I hope that this lesson made sense and different methods to write equations in slope-intercept form, but let me know if you have any questions when you come into class.